In today's video, we're going to look at a remarkable woman called Irena Sendler, who basically saved thousands of Jews during World War II. If you do enjoy this video and you find it interesting, go down there, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more.
Irena Sendler was born to a Catholic family in the city of Otwock, Poland in 1910. When World War II broke out on September 1, 1939, Irena Sendler was a 29-year-old social worker at the welfare department of the Warsaw municipality. She carried on performing her duties even after the city's occupation by the Germans and took care of hundreds of people in the city who had become poor and homeless as a result of the war. Irena used her position to help the Jews. However, this became impossible once the Warsaw ghetto was sealed off in November 1940. Roughly 400,000 Jews were packed into a small area occupied by the ghetto. The crowded living conditions, along with the lack of basic sanitation, food, and medicine, led to a very high death rate among the ghetto population.
When we think about ghetto, we were taught about the ghettos in school, and so we know what it was that they were. So basically it was an area where Jews were just packed in. But in my head, I really struggle to imagine what it was like. Now, this picture does quite a good job in how busy it may have been. You know, the only problem you've got is that depending on which generation you're born in, it's very difficult to remember and imagine certain wars and certain situations that went on. So, for example, I think it's getting very difficult for the current generation of children, for example, to really connect with what happened in World War II. Just as, for example, my generation didn't have necessarily maybe as much connection to World War I. And I think images like this, and especially if you've got actual video footage, are so important to make the younger generations through time remember what things were like and what happened. But when we're talking about Irena Sendler, there are always those people that are just caring, aren't they? They just care. It doesn't matter who you are. They just have that caring nature.
Despite the great risks involved, Irena obtained a permit from her department to visit the ghetto and inspect the sanitation conditions inside. Once she had infiltrated the ghetto, she made contact with Jewish relief organizations and began helping them smuggle Jews out of the ghetto and find places for them to hide in the Aryan part of the city. In the fall of 1942, the Zhigota, the Council to Aid Jews, was established following the deportation of 280,000 Jews from the ghetto to the Treblinka extermination camp. This organization, staffed by both Jewish and non-Jewish operatives, worked to rescue Jews. Irena became a prominent activist in the council, helping Jews who had survived the deportations from the ghetto to find hiding places, even providing them with food and medical supplies.
Some of the dangers that certain people put themselves into. You know, Irena, in the grand scheme of things, she was not in danger. She was not going to be, you know, if she did nothing, she would not be punished. She would not suffer, you know, but there are certain people like Irena who went out of their way and risked their own lives and their own safety to help others. It's just insane to think, and truly heartwarming that there are and there were people like that. Oh, it's sort of brilliant and just horrid at the same time.
The rescue operations undertaken by Irena and her fellow council members were daring and complex. Babies and small children were sedated and smuggled out in bags, baskets, suitcases, and even vegetable crates in the ghetto hospital supply truck. Older children were extricated in various disguises or through the sewer system, which also served smugglers and the Jewish resistance. The ghetto ambulances carried both children and adults out of the ghetto on stretchers, under the pretense that they had contracted typhoid, tuberculosis, and other infectious diseases that the Germans were averse to. In September 1943, approximately 4 months after the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising and the ghetto's subsequent demolition, Irena was appointed as head of the Department for the Care of Jewish Children at the Żegota. Under the pseudonym Jolanta, Irena used her connections with orphanages and other institutions caring for abandoned children to send them Jewish children equipped with forged documents, all at great risk to herself. Many of the children were sent to the Regina Mari orphanage in Warsaw and to religious institutions in the Warsaw and Lublin regions. For Jewish children to fit into a Polish environment, they had to be prepped, which meant leaving behind their Jewish birth names, identities, and families.
Just imagine you had to completely change your identity, just to survive. I just can't imagine. We don't face, where we are, that's what I'm talking about, where we are in the UK, we face nothing like that. There is no real immediate danger. And so the thought of having to completely change your identity to stay safe, it's how the hell did these children feel going through all this? I just can't comprehend it.
Adopting Christian names and becoming fluent in Polish. Most importantly, the children had to learn Christian prayers and rituals and assume new Christian identities. Sometimes, the institutions themselves set certain conditions, and in many instances, the children were baptized and made Catholic.
Wow.
Irena made sure to keep precise records of the children sent to these institutions, so that they could be located after the war and returned to their families. By doing so, Irena saved the lives of many hundreds of children. Their exact number is unknown. It is important to remember that the danger was not limited to the Germans. There were also local informants who, motivated by financial reward or by their own anti-Semitism, would disclose the locations of rescued Jews and their Polish rescuers alike.
That's, so interesting, isn't it? Because it wasn't, like saying, it's not just the Germans. There's always people in life that are out to get rich, right? All the time. And we know it even today. But back then, getting rich cost people's lives. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen now, but in that specific situation, the things people do for greed. Very clever of Irena, though, to actually have precise paperwork, because these poor children, they're hoping that they get found and allowed to live their previous lives when the war was over.
Therefore, the survivors often had to be moved from place to place, from house to house, from apartment to convent, or from town to village and back again. Every such transfer involved more people, and so increased the risk of exposure, informing upon, or betrayal, as well as the danger that one of those involved would get caught and give away the others. On October 20th, 1943, after a month of widespread activity, Irena was arrested. Prior to her arrest, she had managed to hide incriminating evidence, such as the coded addresses of some of the children's whereabouts, as well as evidence of large sums of money paid to some of the hosts. She was sentenced to death, but was eventually released in February 1944 after members of the resistance managed to bribe clerks. The arrest did not deter her, and immediately after her release, she resumed her clandestine activity, even though she knew the authorities were aware of her activity. She continued her operations on behalf of the Jews. At one point, the need for secrecy even prevented her from attending her mother's funeral. Over the years, she received numerous recognitions for her heroic conduct during the Holocaust.
So, this is the story of Irena Sendler. However, and this is Polish video, I think, but her name was actually Irena Sendlerova.
After the war, Irena worked for the Ministry of Health in Poland. On October 19, 1965, Yad Vashem recognized Irena as a righteous among the nations, and a tree was planted in her honor at the entrance to the Avenue of the Righteous Among the Nations at Yad Vashem.
Just incredible. I love hearing stories about these people, men and women, that put their lives in so much danger. Her life could have basically been forfeit after she was caught, and luckily, the guards were bribed and let her go. But it's just the danger, but the amount of Jews that this lady saved with the help of others is truly remarkable. And what an incredible story! What an incredible woman! The story lives on, and there are so many stories like this that just it gives you hope, and it gives you the thought that there are still good people in the world, right? There's so much bad, but there is also so much good. There you go. The story of Irena Sendler, righteous amongst the nations. Thank you so much for watching. It means so much. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. If you've got any suggestions for more videos, let me know in the Discord server, which is in the description. I'll catch you next time.